All right, guys, thanks a lot for joining us today. We have a very important and interesting topic to discuss. It's about application segmentation for your migration, compliance, and audit needs in Google Cloud. So my name is Shahzad Ali. I'm the VP of Solutions Architecture team here at Aviatrix. And today I'm fortunate to have Kunal Bhatia. He's the networking lead from Google Cloud joining us today. Kunal, you want to introduce quickly?
Thank you, Shahzad. Hey, everybody. As Shahzad said, my name is Kunal Bhatia. I work as the networking lead for Google Cloud based in Singapore. I look after all cloud networking solutions for our customers in Southeast Asia. So looking forward to the webinar here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Kunal. So now we're going to move on to our topic today. So before we begin and dive into the technical details, what Aviatrix is providing is basically a secure cloud networking platform for the enterprise customers out there. And enterprise customers are using our platform to accelerate their migration, drive business innovation and growth. And the platform is also providing deep visibility and control that is required by those enterprises. In that process, they are basically reducing the business risk by providing the or gaining the segmentation for their application by getting the audit and control that is needed for their businesses. And if you look at the platform, since this platform is applicable to single cloud or multiple cloud, we're also bridging the talent and skill gap for the enterprises, because when they're starting their journey, obviously, it's very difficult to even build the network in single cloud. But if you look at the horizon and you talk about the multiple clouds, it's even harder. So the platform that we have is providing a consistent and a standard architecture in single cloud, Google Cloud, and across multiple clouds. So we have enabled a lot of enterprises. I'm just showing you a small subset of those customers that we work with. And if you notice that we have a global footprint where these customers are actually coming from all different verticals. And a lot of them are, you see, are joint customers that we have with Google Cloud. So now if you look at the architecture, what we are doing here, we are creating this hub and spoke architecture in single cloud or multiple cloud in order to provide this consistent and secure networking and automation. Okay, so when you are operating in one single cloud, obviously you will be using the native constructs, but oftentimes you need some enterprise advanced capabilities that is provided by the Aviatrix platform. Now, the platform is also providing you a consistent visibility and control, because you need this insight into your network and you want to see what's happening in and out of your network. And not only that, you need a total control on your journey, right? Because when you are deploying these workloads, when you have this digital presence in the cloud, you need to make sure you are basically controlling it. You have your destination pretty well defined and you're not dependent on any elements out there. So with that, let me turn it to Kunal again so we can see what Google Cloud is doing in the networking and security space for us.
Thank you, Shahzad. So as you can see, just to kick things off, this gives you a sense of the sort of infrastructure investment that Google Cloud's making all over the globe. This number keeps changing all the time, just in terms of the sheer number of regions that get added every year, every few months, the various points of presence, the subsea cable investments that Google's known for. So the point is not really to kind of bamboozle you with numbers, but to just give you a sense of the sheer investment that Google Cloud's making in this area in terms of expanding its presence all across the globe. And this slide here sort of pictorially depicts that subsea cable investments that I was mentioning earlier. Again, these lines crisscrossing in blue hopefully give you a sense of all the fiber cable investments, the subsea fiber cable investments that Google makes, not just Google Cloud, but Google makes all over the globe in order to run one of the world's largest privately owned fiber networks. Now let me walk you through some specifics of of the unique differentiators of Google Cloud's networking portfolio. And as you can see here, this again sort of gives you a sense of various services available to perform different activities, starting right from the left where you have essential bare bones connectivity services, so something as fundamental as a VPC, but also more advanced concepts like private service connect, network connectivity center, and some of these I'll touch upon through the rest of my presentation. Then there's also security, which is so key to networking today, the ability to protect yourselves from various sorts of attacks, again, starting from something as simple as being able to put in firewall rules, but also being able to fend off against the largest DDoS attacks of the world. Scale, which speaks to the ability to expand your workload scalability, as well as offer cached content to customers around the world, as well as optimize and modernize. So in modernize, this is all about being able to offer true cloud native experience, cloud native networking experience for our modern application portfolio using GKE, Traffic Director, as well as Service Directory. Great. So one of the fundamental differences or differentiators between the way networking occurs in GCP versus that of some other clouds is the way the VPC is architected. As you can see, hopefully through the animation showing up here, that you really need one VPC irrespective of the number of regions you want to run your workloads in. As the title here says, 29 regions, but one global VPC. So that essentially speaks to the ability to expand anytime and move into different regions without having to set up a new VPC and then connect those multiple regional VPCs together. There's nothing like that in GCP. There is just simply put one VPC, and that by default is a global VPC, which means you can start off with one region or 5 regions or 10 regions and choose to expand at your own discretion. Also, another differentiator, which rides on top of the fact that we run one of our own global fiber broadband networks, is the fact that it allows us to offer this flexibility to customers. In fact, by default, when a customer wishes to use our load balancer or some of our other services, they would make use of this premium tier that you see up on. The premium tier essentially is a way for Google to retain your network traffic on our backbone for as long as possible, right from the point where it leaves your server, let's say running in one of the GCP regions, to the point where literally it needs to be handed off to that end customer which requested for that traffic. We will try and hold on to it for as long as possible in order to make sure that it stays on our private fiber backbone and hence minimizing the time it may spend on the public internet. However, there's also this second option of standard tier, which allows you to make use of the public internet at a lower price point and which may be relevant for perhaps workloads which are not mission critical, which are not production oriented, etc. All right. Load balancing, and this is a significant differentiator in the way GCP does or provides load balancing services to its customers. One of the key aspects behind how Google does its global load balancing is the technology known as Anycast. So we do not rely on manual DNS configurations in order to set up and route your traffic to, say, multiple instances around the world. We do it by providing a single virtual IP address, a single VIP to your workloads, irrespective of the number of regions that they're running in. And that way, there's always one particular IP address that your FQDN will always resolve to, which means whichever part of the world people are coming in from, they're always routing to the same IP address. And by using Anycast, we are able to bring them into the closest available resource within your VPC to service that request. So your service could be deployed worldwide. Users too could be coming in from all over the world. Google will automatically ensure that those end user requests get routed to the closest available server for that particular request. In this manner, we're able to take care of performance by routing the request to the closest possible entry point, as well as take care of situations where there's any sort of resilience required or HA required, so that even if one particular set of servers were to become unavailable, these requests will automatically get routed to the next closest available region. And in this manner, you don't have to do any additional configuration. You don't have to pay for anything else. This is just default behavior where we are able to offer the full global capacity of Google, as well as the failover capability, so that your workload shift over seamlessly in case any region or any workload becomes unavailable. Great. So Network Connectivity Center. This product came out a while ago, and as you can see from the title itself, this is all about building a hub and spoke topology in GCP, which allows you to then bring in various types of spokes, either a point-to-point circuit such as an interconnect, or an IPsec VPN, or a third-party appliance such as some sort of an SD-WAN appliance or other third-party appliances, to be able to use any of these to establish spokes into this centralized hub we call as Network Connectivity Center, which then also either provides you connectivity to resources within GCP running in a VPC, or to resources that you need to access outside of GCP by using the Network Connectivity Center. Now, this is an extremely exciting product offering that got released a while ago. And I'm proud to say that Aviatrix is one of those partners offering this capability. So if you're looking for some sort of a multi-cloud topology deployment, Aviatrix and NCC work together very well in order to offer that managed network connectivity solution across multiple clouds. Shifting gears a bit and also touching upon this key topic of security. By itself, security is a massive topic. So what I'm just going to limit here is to provide you a high-level view of some of the various security controls that exist within VPC when it comes to being able to secure your workloads. So starting right from the bottom, in orange, you see a bunch of security features and controls which come into play when your focus is on micro-segmentation, when your focus is all around securing within your VPC. So things like GKE network policies, things like firewall per service account, and gaining a wide set of telemetry data. All this is relevant when you're trying to make sure that you've hardened your VPC's posture within when data is being transferred intra-VPC or within your VPC. The second layer in the middle in red is all about securing connectivity to or from your VPC and essentially controlling access to any sort of Google services. So that's where VPC level firewalls, hierarchical firewalls, all of these different capabilities come into play. Also things like using NAT proxy rather than straight away exposing your workload to the public internet, making sure that you use an outbound NAT proxy so that any outbound connections are going via a NAT, a managed NAT, rather than making its presence directly through exposing its public IP address out on the internet. And right up on top are a couple of additional managed services which are intently focused on securing your internet-facing applications. So things like a global load balancer. The global load balancer, by definition, is a proxy-based load balancer, and that means that any inbound traffic towards your workloads will first of all get terminated on our global load balancer right at Google's edge, be inspected there if you've chosen to get that done, and only then establish a new TCP connection all the way back to where your workloads are. In this manner, that provides a first layer of defense for your workloads around Google's global edge, far upstream of wherever your workloads are. Great. This is one example, one of those services, which we call as Cloud Armor. And Cloud Armor essentially is a couple of key things or a couple of key functionalities with Cloud Armor that we provide. One, it's DDoS protection, distributed denial of service attacks. As you know, Google itself tends to be a favorite target of a lot many actors around the world trying to simulate some of the largest DDoS attacks on Google's properties. So what we've done is to use that same technology that we developed for protecting Google's properties to be reused within our customers' environments within GCP, so that they too can make use of this and protect their workloads from malicious attacks. So the first capability does is to provide protection from DDoS, but it also then provides another key functionality, which is the ability to protect yourself from more sophisticated layer 7 attacks, your classic OWASP top 10 attack patterns, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, LFI, RFI, RC, LC, etc. That's sort of the second capability. And the third one is all around the ability for our customers to create advanced custom rules, where you yourself can define a set of criteria for matching a certain type of traffic. And if that criteria is met, then what should Cloud Armor do? For example, should we deny traffic if the traffic is coming from a particular set of countries? Should the traffic be denied if it comes from a particular set of IP addresses? So on and so forth. Or look at the L7 HTTP headers and determine if a particular user agent-based HTTP header, if that sort of traffic ought to be dropped. So all these different capabilities exist within Cloud Armor, which gives you a good sense of being able to protect your workloads right at Google's edge, so that that traffic doesn't even come anywhere near your workloads and it gets dropped far upstream. And just to wrap things up here, there is also Network Intelligence Center, which, as you would imagine, is our cloud-native management platform, and it does provide a bunch of different modules, such as connectivity tests, topology, etc. But the whole notion here is to provide a first-party cloud-native management platform for monitoring, for checking and validating connectivity between two endpoints, as well as optimizing traffic flows as much as possible. To give you an example, connectivity tests comes into play when you're trying to figure out if two different VMs within your GCP environment, or perhaps even one VM within GCP and one VM running outside someplace through a VPN or through an interconnect, are they able to talk to each other? If not, what seems to be the issue? So through that connectivity test, you're able to simulate that traffic flow on a control plane level, and then able to point out potential flaws or potential misconfigurations, which is stopping from that connectivity to get established. And there's a bunch of other capabilities within NIC, but the idea here is to provide a first-party, a comprehensive platform for network management in hybrid cloud. And with that, I'll hand over to Shehzad.
All right, thanks, Kunal. So great. So now we are actually going directly into the topic of application segmentation, which is becoming really critical for the enterprises that are migrating from the on-prem location into the cloud, or there are some organizations that are actually born in the cloud. So when they look at all these capabilities provided by Google, obviously they see them, and then if there are things that they need more or beyond that, they have developed the partner ecosystem, right? So if you look at Google Cloud, the marketplace, they have a number of different partners, and this is exactly what we are providing as a value add to all those native capabilities that you already see in Google Cloud. So our mantra and our theme is to basically embrace and extend. So all these services that you see from the Google Cloud are actually available even if you're using the Aviatrix platform. So if you look at the application segmentation use case, I can actually divide it into 4 main buckets. So one is the segmentation that is needed inside the cloud. Then the next level is that when you're connecting your on-premise data center, then you need the segmentation. And also, if you have some branches that needs to be segmented, you have that use case that we see pretty much every day coming directly from our enterprise customers. And then there is a notion of providing the segmentation or segregation for the users that are actually connecting to those applications. So let's talk about these use cases one by one. So the first is a customer use case where this enterprise is actually born in the cloud. They're using the Google Cloud, And now they want to provide the segmentation for the applications that they deployed here, right? So in the diagram, what you see here is a hub and spoke architecture built by Aviatrix. So these orange circles are Aviatrix transit gateways. And then they are connecting these VPCs, these spoke VPCs to this transit hub location. Now, in this case, this customer is running a number of different applications or tenants. So I'm calling them Pepsi and Coke. And this is exactly the segmentation that they require. So with the Aviatrix platform, they can easily create a policy so that these two Pepsi and Coke workloads are not talking to each other. But if they need to connect to some shared services, again, you can define the policy for them to talk to the shared services, but not to each other. So that's just one level of segmentation that we can provide for the Google Cloud customers. But if you look at the feature set that we are delivering through this Aviatrix platform, it's a lot, basically. So when you're building this architecture is applicable for one cloud, but you can easily extend it to multiple clouds. And in this example, you see AWS being one of those CSPs, but the platform, the Aviatrix platform, can support Azure, OCI, Alibaba, and whatnot. And this policy or this segmentation works seamlessly across the board. And why? Because this is delivered through a centralized control plane and a distributed data plane, right? So with that, you get all the other features that I'm listing on this screen on the left-hand side. So when you build this architecture, it's encrypted by default. This is a repeatable architecture that you can copy paste into other cloud. There are some use cases, very important use cases that comes with the application segmentation and migration. For example, the overlapping IP support that we provide as part of the platform. Then we also have the network behavior analytics, so like anomaly detection. If something happening in the data plane, if your traffic is not where it's supposed to go, we can actually detect that and can automatically block it as well. Now, all these services are complementary to what Google is already providing. And when we are providing this to our customers, obviously it's provided in a multi-cloud fashion, okay? And then when we talk about the operations, extremely important. When we talk about the automation, very important for our enterprise customers to have this common automation plane across multiple clouds or in the single cloud. So we are the official Terraform provider as well. So you write your Terraform code once, you point it towards the Aviatrix controller, and that's it. If you want to use the same code in another cloud, you just change the cloud type from Google to XYZ, and the same code remains the same, right? So it becomes really easy for our enterprise customers to make this part of their CI/CD pipeline. Then we also provide the third-party integrations with our platform. So for example, if you're looking for the next generation firewall services in the cloud, or if you are connecting to some load balancer like F5, or if you have ServiceNow integration needs. So this is all part of this architecture where we can seamlessly integrate those services with the Google Cloud and across multiple clouds with the same repeatable architecture that we talked about. Now, moving on, the segmentation and control is also needed when your applications are migrating from the on-premise location. So we know that this is the world of cloud. We know this is the world of multiple clouds. So when customers are migrating from the on-premise, they're adopting different techniques. In some cases, it's a lift and shift. Some cases, they're actually redefining or modifying their application and then deploying into the cloud. So regardless the case, what we are seeing is that customers are really nervous about providing the segmentation for the workload that they're moving into the cloud. So again, with the controller-based architecture, with a single architecture we provide through our Aviatrix platform, we can create this segmentation for those customers. So at this example, you see this customer deployed some on-premise resources. They are sitting in blue and red segment. So when you're building this topology or when you're migrating them, what you can do, you can create a policy to define your segments in the cloud, in Google Cloud. So in this case, I have this blue segment and red segment. And when you create this policy, it's pushed through the controller, and then the controller will make sure that when these workloads are talking to each other, it will allow it through the transit architecture. But if they're trying to talk to the red segment, it won't allow that, right? So that's the policy that you can create. And this policy, you can see we have integration with the Google Cloud Interconnect, which is the private connectivity service. But even if you have the IPsec connectivity or some VPN tunnel going back to on-prem location, that's also supported with this architecture. Now with that, there are other features and important requirement that we get from our enterprise customers. For example, support for the overlapping IP. Okay, so when you're moving these workloads, if you run into the situation where some dev team already deployed some segments of VPCs that are overlapping with your on-premise location or your workload, we can actually solve that challenge for our customers as well. With all the audit control, the governance that you need in order to make this an enterprise deployment. So this is in one cloud, Google Cloud, but now what about extending it to other cloud? So like I said before, this is the advantage we provide to our customers, that all these services that we are talking about here are not only applicable in Google Cloud, but you can extend this in other cloud as well. And we use the same policy model. So from the policy perspective, it's just a matter of defining another segment in AWS or Azure, and this policy will extend to those locations as well. Okay, so we talked about the data center. What about the branches, right? So if you are retail, or if you are in the banking sector or financial sector, obviously you have a number of branches. In some cases, there are partners. Sometimes there are distributors. Sometimes there are people that you don't really want to connect to your precious or crown jewel applications. So how do you actually provide that type of segmentation in Google Cloud? So with the Aviatrix platform, again, what you can do when you're building this architecture, when you're connecting those branches, you can put them in their own segments. So I have 3 segments, green, blue, and red. And all these branches, when they're connecting into this architecture, they are only allowed to talk to their respective workloads, right? And then this workload can also be available in other clouds, right? So in this example, now I have extended this policy to my AWS cloud. And what I have done, I have built this transit connectivity between Google and AWS in this case. And then when you define the policy, like I said, the controller will automatically take care of pushing this policy and making sure that these workloads are not talking to each other. And also, when these branches are connected into the cloud, they have access to their respective workloads or resources, right? So what I show you on this picture looks very simple, but if you look at the underlying services that we are providing, for example, the traffic engineering, the route filtering, the BGP, advanced BGP, some advanced BGP knobs like ASPath, prepends, and whatnot. So all of this is also happening in the action. And then the notion of adding another layer of security is provided by this third-party firewall service insertion. So you can have Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Fortinet, Cisco, or any other third-party firewall, which you can leverage in single cloud and in multiple clouds to make sure that you are providing this extra layer of protection just beyond this segmentation that we are talking about. So this is the last use case we see, where when the users are coming into your cloud, they could be developers, they could be your partners. They want to access to your services or your workloads. So they are also segmented. So what we have a user VPN solution, which is a SAML-based offering that we have, which supports all the latest and greatest security features and services. For example, multi-factor authentication. It's also geolocation aware. You can actually create the policies with a zero-touch model, zero trust model, where you can define a policy saying, you know what, everything is blocked, but just I'm letting this person or this user come in to my network and access only a specific service or workload here, right? So this is the service we provide. And this is, again, a multi-cloud based user VPN solution. We understand that Google also has some services like Beyond Corp, providing the user VPN type services to connect to the workloads. But like I said before, when customers are looking for a multi-cloud solution and based on their requirement, they can actually pick either one of them. So you can go with the Google Cloud option, or they can have the Aviatrix option, which is providing them all these functionalities, not only in Google Cloud, but also in other clouds as well. So this is our the CoPilot. Basically, it's providing the compliance and audit that we've been talking about, right? So when you look at all the data that is flowing in and out of this network, it needs protection, right? So we have different layers of protection. So Kunal talked about all these services that Google is providing. Then we have a notion of third-party service insertion. But as we know that in the world of security, you have to provide security at each and every layer. And there is a defense in depth concept, which means that you need to provide more, right? So what we have done as part of this architecture, we have embedded the security in the data plane. So all the traffic that you see when it crosses through our gateways, it automatically protected. So in this case, we are using network behavior analytics, which is actually detecting the anomalies happening in the network. Then we have a threat card feature, which is automatically detecting if there are bad actors sitting out there trying to access your workloads, then you are getting notified about them. And not only the notification piece, but also we can automatically block it from penetrating into your network. There are some screenshots I took from the CoPilot. Obviously, it's a very comprehensive and extensive platform, but you can see that in the heat map fashion, we can tell you exactly where those traffic or bad actors could be coming from. This is the threat vector, which you can see on your screen. Then we have this visualization for the segmentation. So we have been talking about segmentation. How do we actually visualize it? What resources are connected to what, or what security domains are talking to the other security domain. So you can actually visualize it. You can see the topology map. You can get a lot of information. For example, the ping, trace route. If you want to check the latency between different workloads, or if you want to see how exactly the packet is flowing between two virtual machines in Google Cloud or from Google Cloud to other cloud, you can quickly see that through this CoPilot feature that we have. And this is the audit I was talking about, where we can actually take the snapshot of your entire topology, and we can go back in time. Like we can replay this topology, and we can tell you exactly what changes were made from between two timeframes. And not only that, if you click on audit, you can also see actually who made those changes. So it becomes really important for our customers who are migrating into the cloud or operating in the cloud to know exactly how this the audit is coming along. All right, so with that, I just want to say thanks again. Thanks a lot, Kunal. And now we are going to open it up for Q&A.